So I will try to speak actually into the mic. So this is Diabetes Part 2. Diabetes Part 1 yesterday afternoon was very well received. And if you're getting up and coming again today, then yes, indeed, it was very well received. So we are learning all kinds of things. This morning, Dr. Ford is going to give his personal testimony. And to me, there's nothing, except for the actual word itself, there's nothing more powerful than the testimony. Even sometimes, to me personally, testimonies, because I can see in my own life what happened over a period of time. And when you know that you're not responsible, it's not because you've made efforts, you failed time and time again. But then you see it happening. And you see it happening in the lives of your friends, too, that they get the victory over things that have been defeating them for so long. So it's so powerful. And he is going to talk about his life and things that happened. And I hope that there'll be a great learning experience. Because I have a friend whose mom is in her 90s, and she always says, taught sense and there's bought sense. And my friend has done some foolish things in her life. Her mother always says, I can see now you're getting ready to buy yourself some sense. So anyway, I pray that we're going to get some taught sense this morning from Dr. Ford. And thank you all. And stick around because Sonia, some of y'all, we didn't even know she was going to treat us again. But she came and did a cooking class in January, and I'm telling you, that stuff was slamming. And I'm so glad she's here, and her son today. So stick around right after, too. Thank you.
Hello? Okay. Now it's on. Okay, good morning. Oh. All right. Well, thank you all for coming. I had a bit of a rough morning this morning, but the Lord is good. The devil always tries, but he's a complete failure, right? God is victor, so we thank God for bringing us to this time. Thank you all for coming. And is that Sonia? Okay, yeah. So I've heard a lot about you, so even before I came. So praise the Lord for you. Now let's have a word of prayer. Father in heaven, we thank you so much for your blessings. We are grateful to you for giving us life for a new day and a new week. We want to be able to live our lives for you. But we don't have strength to do that in and of ourselves. And so we desire the life of Christ to be lived out in us. Father, bless us now as we come, and may you speak to us, and may our hearts be warmed. And may you empower us, Father God, to leave this place changed people, working on our health, not for ourselves, but for your glory. In Jesus' name. There's a verse I'd like to read from Exodus chapter 15. Some of you know this verse very well. Exodus chapter 15 and verse 26. Exodus chapter 15 and verse 26. And the Bible says, and said, this is now God speaking to Moses, right? And the Lord said to him, if thou wilt diligently, now of course this is to give to the Israelites who God was speaking to there as a group, and said, if thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and wilt do that which is right in his sight, and wilt give ear to his commandments and keep all his statutes, I will not put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians. For I am the Lord that healeth thee. Okay, I am the Lord that healeth thee. So if there's anything you take away from this weekend, is that the Lord is the healer. doctor, it's not the nurse, it's not the nurse practitioner, it's not the PA, it's not the health educator. It's none of these, it's not our health reformers. It is the Lord himself that heals. And he gave us principles in his word. And if we listen to them, if we hearken to these, and sometimes it's hard to make these changes, but it's always hard. Some people have more willpower than others, and they might last for a little bit longer, but willpower left to itself will fail at some point. Okay? And so that is why people have difficulty giving up addictions. Some people have successfully done it, and they say it's their willpower, but many times at some point they go back to it, or they find another addiction. You see, so willpower in and of itself is not enough. We need the strength and power of God. Okay, Christ overcame for us. If you remember, when Christ, after his, when he began his ministry, remember in Luke chapter 4, we are told that the Spirit took him after his baptism into the wilderness to be tempted. Okay, he fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. And now the devil comes to him, in the form of an angel of light, right? As if to say he's going to fool Christ. You see, but Christ, through the power of his Father working in him, he knew better. And the devil was trying to tempt him in what area? In the area of appetite, right? Appetite has been the downfall of man from the beginning. It was that which caused man to sin, and it is that which will cause many to miss out, from the kingdom. Remember yesterday we talked about, health and holiness actually go together. And we as Seventh-day Adventists, I'm not sure if everybody in the room is, but we believe in what we call the sanctuary message. Thank you. The sanctuary message, where Christ is doing a work right now in cleansing sins from his people. Okay? And he's cleansing the sins that he died for. So he died for the sins. He paid the penalty, okay, on the cross. The wages of sin is death. He came for us, but also as us, and all men in him. Okay, so he was crucified, but when he was crucified, we were crucified with him, because it is our sins that it is you that sin, not him. So it took us upon himself, and he died the sins that caused death to come into the world, and he conquered death, and he conquered sin, so that now we have the victory over sin, over appetite. Appetite is a consequence of sin, and sin is self-centeredness, self-love. It is always I, me. I mean, when children are born, you don't have to teach them about being self-centered. They throw tantrums. I mean, adults throw tantrums too. And because we are always looking out for me, and it's usually in the area of appetite. I remember when I was coming back from, and I forget where I was coming back from, recently here, I traveled. I was already back from Kenya. I was traveling within the United States, and just a few weeks ago, and this lady was sitting with me, sitting in front of me, and her daughter, maybe about 6, 7 years old, and she was on the tablet. And after a while, I think her mother wanted her to take a break, and she took the tablet from her. And boy of mercy, I mean, it was unbelievable. That kid just went on a And it did not go for a few minutes or for half an hour. It went on for almost half of the film life. Because the mother would not give it to her, and she was trying to, get her to stop screaming and hollering. And I was right there, And, and I was trying to be kind. I didn't want to say anything, but she was giving a little, touch on the hand. But she just continued to just scream and holler. Ultimately, I think she hollered until she fell asleep. After maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. Okay, I was coming from New York, now I remember, yeah. So, and then she fell asleep. And then after a while, she woke up, and she started all over again. It was horrible. And so we have these situations where self is always wanting to be satisfied. Okay? And this is why we are told, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. This mind of self-emptying, this mind of saying, Lord, that I may live for you. Lord, I am crucified with you. And now the life I live is not my life. It is your life. And your life is all about other-centeredness. Your life is all about other-centered love, not self-love, which is what the world knows. Okay? It is all about other-centered love. And so Christ overcame in this area of appetite for us at the beginning of his ministry, because that is the area where the first Adam fell. So Christ, in order to be a faithful and merciful high priest, yes, the Bible says that in Hebrews chapter 2, verses 9 and 10, in as much as the children are partakers of flesh and blood, he also likewise. That's like, okay, did you get it? He also likewise took part of the same. Yes? That he, through death, might conquer death. Okay? And the Bible says in verse 10, and I'm trying to, let me see. Let me look at it, because I normally have it memorized, but sometimes your brain freezes up. Okay. So Hebrews chapter 2 and verse 10. It says here, for it became him for whom are all things and by whom are all things, in bringing many sons to glory, to make the captain of their salvation perfect through suffering. So Christ understands suffering. He is the captain of our salvation. Yes? And in order to be the true captain, okay, of our salvation, he had to go through suffering like humanity goes through suffering. And he had to do it as you and me. That is why verse 9 is so important. He became as we are. And in becoming as we are and going through suffering, he was made perfect. That's the word that Paul used. He was made perfect through suffering, so that he could be a merciful and faithful high priest in things pertaining to God. Well, the things pertaining to God are things of righteousness. Yes? And righteousness is not self-love. It's not self-centeredness. Righteousness is other-centered love. It's right doing. It is God loving others even over himself. And Christ saying, I will die for them at any cost. Whatever it takes to bring them back to me, I will do it. And so we have a merciful and faithful high priest. There is not an appetite or addiction that you have that Christ not only is able to help you over it and give you victory over it, but he himself experienced it, and that's why he is able to give you the victory. Christ is not giving you the victory because he is God. Yes? That's not the primary reason. Christ is giving you the victory because he experienced it as you did or as you were. So he knows exactly what it feels like. That's how he was made perfect through suffering. Because if he's only doing it as God, well, that doesn't really help you much. Because you could say, well, yeah, Jesus Christ, yeah, it's easy for you. You're God. You don't really understand my situation because I'm the one going through it. But you cannot say that because he experienced it as a man. So in as much as the children of flesh and blood, he also took part of the same. So that you could always say, I don't care. He saves from the guttermost to the uttermost. I don't care what addictions you have. You could come to him and say, man, I have tried everything and I have failed. The harder I try, the harder I fail. I surrender all. And sometimes you have to get to that point for you to realize that you need him. You don't have to get to that point. But sometimes that's where we are. That's just human nature. And he will take you and give you such a victory that you have never seen before. And that victory, as long as you stay in him, it will continue on until you are perfected and made fully into his image and partake of the divine nature. So as I share my testimony, I wanted to give that preamble to help us understand that we don't have to continue the way we are doing things. We don't have to. There is power available to us. The devil has not, he doesn't have enough power to tempt you to eat that piece of cake. Doesn't have enough power to do that. The only person who has enough power to make themselves pick up that piece of cake to eat it is who? It's yourself. That's right. God could give you the strength to overcome self. The Bible calls him a succor, an instant helper in your time of trouble. And by the way, every moment you are alive and take a breath is a time of trouble. So some people think, well, life is good. They're driving down, life is nice, and they have a nice bank account. Everything is good. That is not the time of trouble. That is one of the worst times of trouble. You should never ever take your focus off Christ because you are always this close to trouble. And the devil is on your heels, like you cannot believe, and you cannot fight the devil on your own strength. So in 1976, my older sister, who is now deceased from diabetes, okay, he died in her sleep at the age of 55. Her blood sugar dropped, and she died in her sleep. At that time, we did not have, this was in Africa. I was here. I've been here for over 42 years. But we did not have the, what we have now, we call the continuous glucose monitoring that beeps. So, even at nighttime, we didn't have, it wasn't available at the time. And so she died in her sleep. And, but she was diagnosed in 1976. She died in 2014 or 14. So when she was diagnosed, my mother did not know what was going on. She was, my sister was eating and she was at the same time losing weight and just feeling tired all the time and drinking lots of water and at the same time peeing all the time. You remember what we talked about yesterday in part 1. All these symptoms of frequent urination and constant thirst and losing weight even though you're eating and you have the appetite of a horse. And my mother said, okay, something is going on. Took her to the doctor, and lo and behold, she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. she was a teenager at the time, and so now she had to get an insulin. She had to be in the hospital. They had to teach her how to take shots and all these things, and get her stabilized. And then that was her life. And then a few months after that, I began to have the same symptoms. I mean, it was like textbook. And my mother was like, uh-oh. Now I'm the youngest of five, right? My mother was like, uh-oh. Rushed me to the doctor. Lo and behold, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. It was in '76. I was a little child then. And I was, I think I was about, well, I wouldn't tell you because you know my age. Well, it doesn't matter. I was about 8, 9 years old. And so I got an insulin like, my sister, and life became very hard. And hard in the sense that, and it wasn't like, I did not really like sweets that much when I was a child, even before I was diagnosed. I was not my sister, she was like a chocolate person, but me, I was never my thing. Even what you call soda here or soft drinks, we call it soft drinks too, and then we also call it, we also had another name for it, mineral. Yeah, we call it mineral. Yeah. So I don't know why they call it mineral, but so even those I did not really like much. I used to like maybe the Vimto. I don't know if you know what Vimto is. It's red. When you drink it, it makes your tongue and your lips red. So that, kids like that kind of stuff. But I was never really big into sweets. But I was diagnosed, and as a child in school, running around on the playground and passing out because my blood sugar was low, and it just became really hard. And I was able to continue school nonetheless. Sometimes I was out of school for days and weeks in the hospital. And but life, God was good. My mother was on top of things. And so I was able to finish up primary school, went to secondary school, and continued there, and the same things were happening, passing out constantly. The principal was, my mother was also a school principal, so they all knew each other, and she was my mother's friend, and she always had stuff in her office just for me, sugar and this and that, and it was rough. I had 4 diabetic comas, what we call diabetic ketoacidosis, which is what type 1 diabetics get. Type 2 gets it too, but not as much. Okay, that is when, because you don't secrete any insulin, yeah. So the sugar stays in the blood, like we talked about yesterday afternoon, and the body needs fuel. The body needs fuel, and the fuel it gets primarily from sugar, and the brain definitely needs fuel. And so because the sugar stays in the blood and doesn't go in the cells because the insulin is not there, I don't produce any as a type 1 diabetic. So the body begins to break down different things, including fat. It begins to break down fat. And so when you break down fat, the body believes it's starving, so it has to find food somewhere. And so as you break down fat, you begin to develop what we call ketone bodies. Ketone bodies are good in a way, like the keto diet, that people do the keto diet. That's how it works, okay? But you can't do it as a diabetic. In fact, nobody should do it anyway, like I spoke yesterday. It's a terrible diet. But it gives you a lot of fat, from animal products. And so, and if that is not solved quickly in a type 1 diabetic, it is a lethal condition. You go into a coma, and it's without being addressed quickly, you will die. My friend who was a judge in Arizona just died 2 years ago at the age of 50, early 50s, from diabetic ketoacidosis. But she did not know she was diabetic. It was found out right around the same time that by the time it was too late. Okay? So I experienced 4 of those as a child, and 3 of them were disastrous. The doctors told my parents he is not going to make it. I was in the hospital in the intensive care unit. This was all in Africa, and they were doing everything they can to save me, but they could not. And they told my parents each time, 3 different times. You could tell that I didn't die, right? but suffice it to say that my father actually, how men are. We act tough, but we're wimpies inside. Sorry, man, but that's real. But it's good that we are tough outside. It's good. But my mother, she did not believe that. If she did, she didn't show it. My mother, being a school principal and everything, she would go to work in the morning, okay, and then after work, she would run home, get everybody together, the rest of the family, and then she would come to the hospital like around maybe 7 in the evening, and she would spend the whole night on the rooms by my bedside. Every night. Every night. I mean, the longest time I was in a coma was, I think, 11 days. And she would spend every single night on her knees. And there goes my time. She would spend every night on her knees, pleading to God to save her child. And of course, God heard her prayer. And that is one of the reasons why I tell people, I say, when a mother prays for their child, I mean, heaven moves. Heaven moves. I mean, dads too. We pray for our children. We should. But when a mother pours out her heart before God, the very throne of heaven is shaken. I believe that. And so, even my father tried to take life insurance out of me when I was about 15, because I already had one of the comas by that time. And when they found that I was diabetic, they denied it. Type 1 diabetic. They're like, this guy is not going to live long. He's going to die. We're not going to use the life insurance. I found out later on. And I don't blame him. He was, I was going to die anyway as far as he was concerned. I might as well have some life insurance with me. But God, by his grace, had my mother's cries, and I came out of those comas each time. My doctor, I remember one time my doctor came into my room, and he saw me reading my Bible, and believe it or not, I was also reading Ministry of Healing at the time. My family wasn't Adventist, but that's a whole other story. I became Adventist when I was young. I was sharing with Travis last night. The Lord called me into his church by himself. Nobody invited me at the age of 9, 10. So I was reading Ministry of Healing, and I had my Bible with me. And my doctor comes into the room, and he sees me reading, and he looks at the book and says, "Lord, there's a Bible?" He said, "That's why we're still alive." And ever since then, he began to call me Miracle Child. The whole hospital, the nurses, they were calling me Miracle Child, because they could not understand how I made it. People normally would die. And so that was the name. Like when I left and came overseas, when I would go back to visit, I would go and see him, and he would call his staff, "Hey, come. This guy here," he would share my testimony with them, and he says, so that's why I call him Miracle Child. He doesn't call me by my name, and then when I came to the United States, I lived in New York for many years, and my doctor in New York was calling me a walking time bomb. Because I was a youth when I came, and I was in school. I was trying to work. I was working 2, 3 jobs. sometimes a fourth job. I was selling encyclopedias. I was doing security work at night. I was doing a messenger work during the day, in between school hours. I was doing all kinds of stuff to survive because my my stepsister in New York, she was she had a hard time herself, so she had to work hard also herself. So then I began to have trouble with my eyes. My kidneys were failing. Okay, neuropathy was setting in. My diet was horrible because here am I, a young kid, pretty much, and still a teenager, in my late teens, and so I just ate. I ate KFC. I wasn't a burger guy, like I told you guys yesterday. I was more of a chicken guy. So Kentucky and Popeyes and all these places, those were my frequent. I mean, I cooked, but I didn't have time to cook much, And so that was my staple. Dunkin' Donuts, all of these things, these terrible foods. I was buying all kinds of crap, okay, and I didn't know any better, So so life was just becoming more and more terrible. But I kept pushing by the grace of God. God gave me the strength, and somehow I kept going. I was in the church, and people were very nice to me in the church in New York. This lady who died last February, a year ago, she died at 101. She became my nana, and the family took me in, and I just, they just loved me. And so on and on and on, of course, school, higher education. Because the one thing my mother was a school principal, she was a disciplinarian, and everybody has to have an education, higher education. So that drive was always in me. In fact, people call me the professional student because I'm always in school for something, So, but it was hard going to school. It was hard going to college. It was hard, of course, medical school. Somebody asked me one day, they came up to me after I gave a lecture, and they said to me, how did you become a doctor? How did you make it through medical school? And all this stuff, how did it happen? I said, brother, you have no idea. I said, God made it happen. I said, because everybody else thought, people told me, why didn't you go on disability? Why are you doing this to yourself? Why are you killing yourself for this? I had my own family tell me to go on disability. And they were not being mean. They were just telling me, you are killing yourself, literally. Okay? And, I had GI issues, problems, and things. I had constant colonoscopies and endoscopies since I was a child, just trying to figure out what was going on with my GI tract. And I was always in pain. I was always, not always, but many times I was miserable. Okay? Yeah, but I still tried to live the regular life as much as possible. I still had some fun, by God's grace. I still did have fun, which was not by God's grace. But trying to just, live life. So let me fast forward here in Minnesota now, and then my eye doctor said, okay, well, I said, you have glaucoma. Okay, now glaucoma is very common on my dad's side. My dad became blind from it in his older age. His mother also was blind from glaucoma, and his brother also became blind from glaucoma. His brothers, a couple of his children also have glaucoma. My sister who passed away, she has glaucoma. She lost an eye from that. I have glaucoma. So I started to use, drops and things. Because with diabetes, it would sort of make it come faster. Okay, so I started to use the drops, and then of course I had cataracts, and then we went to cataract surgery on one eye during COVID time. On this eye, the doctor told me, well, this eye is also very bad, so he's like, you have to come back in about a couple months. But thankfully, it's been about 6 years. This eye is still okay. The cataract is there, but I still see fine. But I ended up with multiple eye surgeries, lasers and actual, going in there, surgeries and things. And, I had, I had a ruptured vein in there and blood vessel in there, all kinds of stuff. Kidneys were falling. I had neuropathy. And then I had my first heart attack in 2007 in Minnesota. Okay, and I ended up with stents. Really, I didn't think it was a heart attack. I was sitting there with my family in Minnesota. They had just lost their mom in Michigan, so we were visiting. We were also living in Minnesota, so my wife and I were visiting with them. And then I started to have like some chest discomfort. I felt it was like just my acid reflux. So I said, give me some 7-Up or something, some Sprite. But it was getting worse and worse, and I was sweating. And my wife looked at me and said, let's go to the doctor. Let's go to the hospital. So we went to the emergency room, and behold, I was having a heart attack. Now, if I was living by myself, if I was by myself at the time at home, I probably would have gone to bed and say, taken some Alka-Seltzer or something and gone to bed. But my wife would not let me. She's also a physician, so that helped. Men, you know how we are. We try to live it off and just sleep it off. But by God's grace, I got some stents placed. I got 3 stents placed in my heart. And, it was Christmas week. I'll never forget that. I spent Christmas in the hospital and ended up getting discharged right on New Year's Eve. I went home and my wife, that's when we decided, okay, we had already been starting to make some changes to our lifestyle, but we were still eating fish and she was still cooking with a fair amount of oil, chicken and all that I was still eating cheese. Cheese was the hardest thing for me to do. Nobody loves cheese like me. I was eating cheese that you could not believe. I mean, every day, all day long, chunks and chunks of it. And so by the time I got the first heart attack, after that now we decided let's start making some additional changes. Let's cut down on the oil a little bit, cut down on the fish and all that. And so as time went on, I was able to get better and get back to things that I had to do. And then I started to have problems walking. Yeah? I was having trouble getting out of bed, or pain, and just loss of balance and all that. And I went to the doctors, several doctors, and I went to the Mayo Clinic. Ultimately, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And they started, because they did some MRIs and they found lesions in my brain and in my spinal cord, in my neck and upper back. And so it was very difficult for me. They had to, I started to get like steroid treatments, IV, and also immunoglobulins, IVIG. They were pumping me with so much stuff. The nurses would come to my house 3 days a week, and they would set up, machines and IV poles and just for hours. I'd be getting these notes, and I wasn't getting any better. And months and months went by. I got very, very obese from the steroids, and I just said, you know what? One day I said, no more. I told the doctor, I said, that's it. I'm not taking this thing anymore. Whatever happens, let it happen. I said, I'm in God's hands. And so I decided to go on a juice fast. I went on a 21-day juice fast, carrots and celery juice fast. And then for the last week, the last week of the month, I started to eat raw. Okay, and I felt like you could not believe. I was feeling so much better. I got up, I was able to get moving again and doing what I needed to do. And yeah, and every year they will check do MRIs to check the lesions and everything. And now this was back, this was, I don't know, this was maybe in the early between, I left New York, went to Minnesota in 2005. So this was around that time, 2007, 2005 to maybe 2000. The last time I had an MRI, we had moved to Texas from Minnesota, was in 2000 and maybe 15, 2016, and the neurologist said to me, he says, you don't need to do any more MRI, so let's you feel something. So I mean, the lesions have improved. They were still there, but much improved. It's like, don't do any more MRIs. You're good, you know? And so they had to change the diagnosis to transverse myelitis, which is also, you know, similar symptoms to multiple myeloma, multiple sclerosis. But I stopped everything, no more MRIs, and I'm still working, right? I'm still doing what I need. I mean, I still have, you know, some difficulties sometimes, especially with pain issues, but I have been doing well since then. But then I got a second heart attack in Texas. Second heart attack, yes. And you know, like I said, we were still kind of trying with fish every so often, and this little bit of milk, and not milk, cheese. Yeah. Well, no, cheese had gone by that time. Cheese, the oil, cooking oil, yeah. So I am a very brittle type 1 diabetic, very, very brittle. Okay. So I've always been on just insulin, just high amounts, since I was a child, you know. And but as I began to change my lifestyle, I've been taking less and less. And thankfully by now I'm taking a whole lot less than what I used to. But anyway, I had the second heart attack. I had just come home from the gym. That's one of the things I always do. I always exercise. You know, I came home from the gym. On a Sunday morning, my wife was downstairs preparing breakfast. The kids were doing what they were doing. And I went upstairs to take a shower and get ready for breakfast. And then as I was in the bathroom upstairs, all of a sudden, I just felt this pain in my chest, like an elephant in my chest, and I just dropped to the floor. And my wife heard the thump. The kids, everybody ran upstairs. What is wrong? I'm like gripping my chest, and she's like, uh-oh. So she runs, gets some aspirin, called 911, took me to the hospital, and they said they put it with an angiogram, and I had like 3 vessels that were, in fact, they were surprised I was alive, you know, blocked. The stents were all clogged up, you know, and so now, you know, they had one doctor there who could potentially, but they thought that, okay, we need to send you to Houston. So I was had a medical airlift from El Paso to Houston, where I had underwent emergency open heart surgery coverage. And this was about maybe about 7 years from the first one, 7 years. And the doctor who did my surgery, the cardiothoracic surgeon, he came up to me, and he was very reassuring, very, very kind man. He was just a beautiful, kind surgeon, you know, and put me at ease. And, you know, subsequently after the surgery, he told me, he says, brother, he says, if it wasn't that you had already been making some life changes, you probably would not have made it, you know. So, I remember saying to God before they wheeled me into the operating room, I said, God, I said, you get me out of this. I said, you and I would never again have to talk about diet and food and all that. I said, we would never need to have that conversation anymore. And so, by God's grace, I came out, and ever since then, I have lived a lifestyle that you could not believe. I have not failed. And by the way, it was also Christmas week. God has been faithful, and you know, over there at Weimar 2 years ago, we were completely 100% whole food plant-based. By the way, my children have always been since they were born, even though we were still eating, my wife and I, a little bit of fish here and there. Not so much at home anymore, but if we go out. But they've always been plant-based. You know, when they go out now with their friends, they're older now. When they go with their friends, they may have pizza or whatever. But at home, we don't do any of that. You know, and my wife cooks very well, vegetarian, vegan meals. You know, but 2 years ago in March, I started, well, a few months before that, I began to have some discomfort. This was when I was doing my ministerial master's program. And I began to have difficulty breathing, and I was like, oh, what's going on? Am I having heart problems? You know, and you know, my legs were kind of swelling up. I said, oh, don't tell me I'm having heart failure now. Because if you've had heart disease, especially if you've had it twice, even if once, you may potentially go into heart failure. So I said, oh, you got to be kidding me. So one day, I was like trying to walk on campus, and this was now about 3 years ago, I should say, and I was barely able to walk. I had to hold, and I called my wife. I said, baby, I said, I think I'm dying. I said, I think I'm dying. I couldn't breathe. And she was like, what is going on? She's like, stay right there. I'm coming to get you. I don't know, I'm coming home. She's like, what? She's like, stay. I said, baby, I said, I'm coming home. I said, the car is right there. I said, I'm coming home. She's like, stay. You know, so anyway, I'm talking to her. And I said, okay, see you later. And I get to the car, and I started the car, and I started driving. And I called her. I said, don't come, I'm coming home. So I'm very stubborn. So I got home, thankfully, about 7 minutes drive, so it wasn't too far. So my wife took me to the hospital, and got to the hospital. They got me in right away into the emergency room, and so they began to work me up for heart. Was I having a third heart attack? And those came back fine. Blood tests were coming back fine. All that. EKG was fine. And so the doctor comes and says, okay, so it doesn't seem like it's like you're having a heart attack. It seems like you're in heart failure. You know, and she did not have excellent bedside manners. She did not, you know. But anyway, so I said to her, as my wife and I were like, okay, so did you do a D-dimer? A D-dimer is a test that you do to see if potentially somebody is having a blood clot. Okay? And she said, no, I don't really start to you don't have the risk factors. You know, diabetes doesn't necessarily predispose you to blood clots, not necessarily, but if you have diabetes and you were sedentary, you know, then the combination would put you at a higher risk. Now, I was never sedentary, but because, and I hadn't traveled for about, my last travel before that experience was about 4 months before. So it's been some time, you know, but I was in class many times. You know, in class, you know, I'm sedentary. Sometimes I would stand up and stretch and just stay standing, but I wasn't like sedentary. I would still work out every day, you know. So I'm like, so she's like, you know. I'm like, well, you know. I said, you didn't do a big dimer. I said, so maybe we should do a CT angiogram of my lungs. She said, no, you don't need it, you know. She was like, and she was getting really kind of irritated, you know. And then my wife looked at her and says, listen, baby, we are both physicians, and we are demanding to do a CT of the chest. And that's when she was like, oh, okay. And so reluctantly, she ordered a CT of the chest. And they came and took me to the radiology department. And I barely came back from the test. She was chasing me down. She's like, you have a massive blood clot. You have blood clots all over your lungs, and you have a massive one sitting where normally they should have killed you. She's like, and everything went now chaos in the calling the hospitalist and to get you started on blood thinners, or do I need a thrombolytic, you know, and everything. later, they had to admit me. And that woman, also, of course, we made a formal complaint about the doctor. And the hospitalist and the other staff, they all came and apologized to me. They said, because this, if you had gone home, that would be it. We didn't wake up in the morning. They came and apologized to me. And this is how many people end up dying. They go to the hospital, to the emergency room, and they send them home. And so if you can advocate for yourself, or have somebody who can advocate for you, if I did not have the knowledge I had, and my wife the knowledge that she had, we would have just gone home, thinking it's my heart. Because she was like, go see a cardiologist, make an appointment, And God spared my life, and of course, they found clots in my legs too, and which is what subsequently when I had some ultrasounds in the hospital. So we don't know where it comes from, but I suspect it's in my family, because my dad ended up with a stroke before he died, 10 years before he died. Ended up with a stroke. He died at the age of 38. And then his brother in California had a blood clot in one of his neck arteries, and and then his son, my cousin, he also had some blood clots in his lungs before I did, and so there is some kind of a family thing there that they could not find, but they did all kinds of blood tests to find out, okay, is it genetic? They can't find anything. Okay, so that is it's weird. It's really weird, because normally this would happen earlier in life, but sometimes it can happen at any time, And so this is pretty much the big. There are many things I left out, but these are some of the big things that have happened to me. That there is a reason why and by the way, I'm writing a book about all of it, because I'm tired of hearing people saying I need to write a book. People are constantly telling me you need to write a book. They're like, this information, people need it out there. People need to know what this type of testimony. I have a friend, his mother was the principal of the high school, the one who was my mother's friend. But she was the vice principal. Her husband was the principal. And so he is an evangelical pastor on the East Coast. Yeah, on the East Coast. Yeah. So he tells me all the time when we talk. He says, let me tell you something, brother. He said, you don't know how many times I have used your testimony in my sermons. He said, you don't know how, and he doesn't even know some of these little things which have happened. He knows about the heart attack. He said, you don't know how many times I've used you in my sermons. So, you might get word sometime that, okay, my book is out there now. I'm still praying about it. I'm studying a little bit or something. But I wanted to just share my testimony to say to you that if you have diabetes, and predominantly type 2 is the more common one. Type 1 is not reversible. Okay, so you have to take insulin shots every day. Thankfully now they have a pump, so we don't have to keep taking shots. I used to take 6-7 shots a day. And you have the continuous glucose monitoring now, that you don't have to keep sticking your finger all the time to check your blood sugar. But if you have type 2 diabetes, if even you have type 1, you could still improve it. Yes? Because diabetes will do one of two things. It will kill you quickly, or it will kill you after a while. But it will kill you. It will kill you prematurely. You will not get away with not taking care of diabetes. I had a patient who came up to WEMA, maybe it was a year ago, almost 2 years ago now, I can't remember. But anyway, he came up, it was last summer of last year, 46 years of age, with a walker, heart failure. The guy could barely walk from here to there without stopping. He came with his parents. His parents had to bring him. And they wanted him to recover and be able to have a family But but of course, that we could still help him. But I said to him, I said, how did you end up with all these complications, severe neuropathy, eyes were, almost going blind? How did you end up like this? I said, did you not have the signs? He's like, he used to have the signs. Yes, he worked at Loma Linda for crying out loud. In the IT department. He said, I had signs. He said, but because his diet was horrible. And he said, but I was just, I didn't really pay attention to it. I was, went about it, doing my own thing. And to the point where it got so bad that he was losing his kidneys. By the way, my kidney function came back to normal. My neuropathy completely disappeared. I exercise every day. Since I've been here, it's not been as much as I would like, but my goal is 20,000 steps a day. Every day without fail. 7 days a week. 20,000 steps. If I fall short, like I fell short yesterday, I think I got up to 18. You may not, people ask me, how do you do that? I say, every chance I get, I do in place. If I get a chance to go outside, I go on the treadmill. I do everything it takes. And if by nighttime I'm not there, I just walk around the house. Okay, so, and people, I don't need you to remind me to do it. I wake up in the morning, I stand in the mirror, I see this huge scar on my chest. That's enough motivation for me. But I tell people you don't have to go there because not everybody has my story. Most people die with half of my story or less than half. Okay, somehow God has preserved me, and I believe for such a time as this. You see, to use me as a testimony that it is possible in His power and using His methods to gain health. I consider myself healthy. Even with all the issues, I consider myself healthy. I travel all over the world. I was in Fiji and Africa last year. I'm about to go to New Zealand to go do some meetings over there. I'm all over the place. Okay, it doesn't stop me, And so this guy came to Weimar, and I tried to work with him. He came on so much insulin. I was able to cut it into almost a quarter from him when he came on. And by the time he left, he still used his walker, but he could walk from here to maybe around the corner before he could stop. Okay? Few months went by, maybe about 5 months or so, and sadly we got a call from his friend that he passed away. He was 46 years of age. Because he went back and he did not continue the lifestyle. And I've seen it happen so many times. Lifestyle is the name of the game. Diabetes will take you out, amputate. You saw the slide yesterday. It's the leading cause of amputations, the leading cause of blindness, the leading cause of kidney failure and hemodialysis, leading cause of all, because the sugar stays in the blood, and the blood goes everywhere. Okay? I have quite a few amount of joint pain. I have really bad knees, and that's why I don't really kneel for prayer. I have, diabetics get a lot of pain in their hands. We call that chiropathy, small joint pain. And diabetics get a lot of trigger fingers. I've had trigger finger surgeries on a few. I've also treated patients with trigger fingers. We get injections many times, steroid injections, which are not good for diabetes or anybody for that matter. But we try to treat these things. But diabetes, because the blood goes everywhere and the sugar is in the blood, and the blood is very viscous when sugar is in the blood, because the sugar is not going where it belongs, because in type 1 we don't have the insulin, we have to take it by shot. And that's always an estimate. You never could give the exact amount because it's something you're doing that is, it's not what God created, primarily for the pancreas to secrete just the right amount that you need. So it's a battle. Diabetes is a battle. It's war. I call this my first job. I wake up every morning. I go to sleep thinking about diabetes. I wake up thinking about diabetes. I wake up in the night to go to the bathroom and thinking about diabetes. It is constant. It is a constant battle. You're just a little bit amount, and I'm very brittle. So my blood sugar would spike just by me just taking a breath. Okay, and it would drop. So it's craziness. Okay, and I have asked God why. But I have, and I get my days. I get frustrated, and sometimes I shed tears. Because my wife would see me sitting somewhere and she would come and just give me a hug. And I thank God for my wife. There are 3 women in this world that I thank God for that I would have probably died had it not been for these 3 women. My mother, Nana, the lady I told you in New York, and my wife. I would most likely not be alive right now if it was for these 3 women. And so I still have my struggles. I still have challenges. Okay? But like I said, it hasn't stopped me. It hasn't prevented me from doing what the Lord himself has called me to do and for which he himself empowers me. The life of Christ is a life that flows through my blood, and I am not going to be apologetic. I'm not going to shut up my mouth. You have to shoot me first. I am going to tell everybody that God is good. He saves. He has power. He could heal you. He could make you well. And just like Paul, if he doesn't take the disease from you, his grace is sufficient for you. His strength is made perfect in your weakness. Therefore, glory in your infirmities. I don't mean glory like have the next piece of cake. I mean, thank God in spite of. And sometimes even because you know what? I don't think I would have been with God had I not had all these challenges. I think I would have been out in the world. God does what he does to keep you. And sometimes you may not like it. But if it takes you being amputated, if that's what it takes to get you into heaven, he will do it. He will do it. You could still reject him, but he would do the last thing that needs to be done to get you into heaven. But he's not going to force you and kick you and drag you into heaven. You have to finally say, I give up. God likes people who give up trying on their own strength. God wants you to really, really trust him. And I pray, God, that if you are dealing with diabetes or know somebody who is dealing with diabetes, that you will decide right now, by the grace of God, to make the changes. I have lived with diabetes now for 50 years as a type 1 diabetic. There are not too many of us around. I know. I'm a physician. I see people. I know. There was a retired nurse who came to Wilmer campus one day. This was last year. Somebody introduced her to me, and she heard briefly about my story, and she wanted to meet me. And I told her how long I got type 1 diabetes. She was like, I don't know anybody like you. She was like, to have diabetes for that long, and still, if you don't tell somebody they don't even know, and still running around and doing things that you do. She's like, that is amazing. I said, no, God is amazing. I said, so it is possible only in the power of God. God has given us the right lifestyle, the right diet, new start, nutrition, exercise. Exercise is powerful. Nutrition is number 1. You need to be on the right foods. And if you're diabetic, type 2 diabetic, type 1, it's not as easy. Even I still try to do 2 meals a day, but in the evening I usually have a little fruit or something because I'm on insulin constantly. But you should do two meals a day if you're type 2. You know, breakfast and lunch, and try to go on a intermittent fasting, which is after lunch until the next morning. Believe you me, you could get rid of diabetes. I have reversed so many, well, not me, but God has used me to reverse so many patients with type 2 diabetes. many over the years because they're willing to work. It takes work. I remember another guy came to New Start last year around Christmas, a year ago, 2004 Christmas, 2024 Christmas. And this guy was willing to work. I mean, this guy put his head and mind and he said, "Doctor, I want to save my marriage." Because his wife was telling him if he doesn't get himself together, she's gone. And I said, "You ready to work?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Let's get going." And this guy exercised for 3 hours every day without fail. He came with a stomach like this. By the time he left, his stomach was half of the size. He came on 106 units of insulin, 160. By the time he left, he was on 48 units. Okay? He lost, so far he's been the biggest loser. He lost 28 pounds while he was there for 18 days. And he did not have to take Wegovy or some GLP-1 agonist or Sempic. No. He lost all that weight. He walked like he could not believe. We do, Linda knows that for the people who come for 18 days, they do a whole day fast along with the intermittent fasting. So for one day in the beginning, we stop eating at lunch, after lunch, after breakfast, and then your next time to eat is lunch the next day. So about 28 hours or so. He decided, he was there for 18 days. So 18 days people get too fast. And you're not forced to, you're really interested, but it's really good if you do it. And that guy, when he said fast for one day, he fasted for 3 days each time. 72-hour fast, along with the intermittent fasting for the rest of the period. He did 3 the first time, and towards the end of the program, he did another 3 days, back to back. And he called us earlier last week, maybe about May or June of last year, called the nurses and said, "Guess what? I'm completely off insulin, and I've lost another 30 pounds." And I said, "Praise the Lord." So it is possible, but I guarantee you it doesn't work without work. It's not going to work. Okay? Whatever you could do, if you just able to take a 5-minute break, if that's all you're able to do right now, do it. And then maybe as you get stronger, 10 minutes. As you get stronger still, 15, 20. There is no cutoff until you get to about an hour. So the more you exercise, the more sensitivity your insulin becomes. The more sensitive your insulin becomes. And you need, so like for me now, because I exercise so much, I don't take as much as I used to take. And the less insulin you will secrete from the pancreas, for those of you who have insulin, type 2 diabetics usually have a lot of insulin. They're over-secrete because they are resistant, like I shared with you yesterday. So the pancreas just keeps cranking. At some point, it does like, okay, forget about it, I can't do anymore. And then it shuts down. And that's when it gets very hard to reverse. But even then, sometimes it can be reversed. Okay? So, but if you have diabetes, don't keep it. Give it away. Give it to Jesus. He knows what to do with it. Tell him, Jesus, right, take it. Just take it. You know? And he will gladly do it. Because when he died on that cross, when the Bible says by his stripes we are healed, he heals all our diseases, he forgives all our sins. He takes it and he keeps it and he throws it away at the right time. And you are set free. I pray that God has blessed you. Now, I was going to say that I don't think we have any time at this point. What time do you want to finish? What time do you want to finish? It's now 12. The strike clock is correct. Almost 12:20. I mean, no, 11:20. Excuse me. Oh, 11:40. Sorry. What time do you want to eat? I think 12:30 is a good time. 12:30 is a good time. Is that 12:30 good for you guys? But let me just run through this quickly because I wanted to show you. This is I didn't know how long my testimony would take. Yeah, refresh yourself, use the bathroom. But I wanted to talk to you about sunlight. Some of the new things we're learning about sunlight now that is powerful for diabetes and other things as well. Yeah. So, 5 minute break. Hello? Okay, let's get started so we could get done in time for lunch, brunch. Okay, well, thanks for coming back. Yeah, okay. Okay, that's fine. Yes, I just wanted to have another word of prayer. Let's pray. Father in heaven, we thank you once again for this time, and thank you for what you are blessing us with today. Father, information is power, but it is only as we utilize it in your strength. And so, dear God, I pray that you would empower every one of us here so that we'll be able to put these things into practice, not for selfish reasons, but to be a glory to your name and to be used by you to bless others. In Jesus' name, amen. Incidentally, I failed to mention what yesterday I spoke about the strong correlation between type 1 diabetes and dairy. Remember that? In the afternoon, type 1 diabetes and dairy. So there is a strong correlation, and I could testify for myself that correlation actually may have strongly contributed to me becoming type 1 diabetic. You know, as a child back home, I don't know if you guys remember this, at least those of us who are old enough. You remember that, well, back home they used to give us, the powdered milk, dried milk, powdered milk, okay, in school. And I used to just love it. I would eat it all day long. I mean, I would stuff my face with it, just constantly, every single day. It is high in sugar and it's high in fat. And really, fat is the main problem, and of course, processed carbs. And that was processed food, and very high in the dangerous things. And we had no idea. And I guess my sister somehow loved it too. I know she loved chocolate. And then, of course, my brother also. Incidentally, we are 5 children. The oldest one, who is my dad's son, he's now passed away as well. He was a politician and businessman back home, and he had he had diabetes, ultimately type 2, and because diabetes is a leading cause for heart disease and heart attacks and strokes. During one of his campaigns, the guys who were working for him, they said that he was complaining of having some pain in the left shoulder and his chest, but because the campaign was so hard, it was his party was actually not doing well because they had been in power and the people were not very happy with them. So he was not trying to. He was trying to, push and push. He was popping Tylenol, but he was having a heart attack. And one night at his home, when he was doing some work in his office, he ended up dying at the age of 59. So, and my sister, like I said, she died at the age of 55. And so I have 3 remaining siblings. My brother in Germany, who is also type 1, by the way. He was diagnosed in his 20s when he went to Europe to study. And he's been there now for over 50 years. And then my sister in England, she's a type 2 diabetic. She was diagnosed maybe about 8 to 10 years ago. And I pleaded with her. I said, please get rid of this thing. Don't keep it. You were newly diagnosed, you could get rid of it. But, she's like many of us, we don't want to give up some of these foods. So the appetite issue big thing for her. And so she, finally in the last couple of years, I see that she's really truly been trying to make some changes. So, she's working on it. So, I try to help as much as I could. I could not make people do whatever they don't want to do because I could not make myself do what I want to do. you know. So, but that's one of the big reasons I believe that I developed type 1 diabetes. And that's one of the big reasons why I believe my children have tested. Remember I told you about the test yesterday. There's a test now that we can do. It's still, it's kind of experimental still, but we have more data now in the last couple of years that you could send the blood of your children if you have type 1 diabetes, and they will test their blood to see if they have the autoantibodies for type 1 diabetes. So we were able to send our kids' blood to the lab. You have to send it to the right lab. Only about 2 labs are doing it right now in the country. And thankfully they came back at low risk. And I believe that the reason why is because they started the right way, if you will. And so God has been faithful. So sunlight, and incidentally also, by the way, because I just want to mention because of a question I had before, right out there during the break, we need to get our screenings done. Screenings are very important. Your colon cancer screening, if right now we are doing it now. We used to be 50 years of age, now we recommend 45. And African Americans are the highest risk. So sometimes they even do it even a little earlier. If you have a family history, strong family history, get your colon cancer screenings done. Okay, whether you want to do the stool test or the actual colonoscopy, which is the gold standard, get whatever screenings your doctor recommends, get it done. I've seen so many people lose their lives, okay, because they did not do their screenings. My cousin in Minnesota, she lost her husband at the age of 56 because he would not listen to me to go get his colon cancer screening done. By the time he started to have some GI pain, it was too late. Stage 4 colon cancer, and he died within a year. So I just wanted to throw that because the person who asked me kind of triggered I need to tell them this. Because some people think that just because they eat healthy, they don't need to do their screenings. No, do your screenings. We live in a sinful world. And bad things happen even to the people who try to do all they can. Okay? So the reason I wanted to tell you about sunlight is because the information is just beautiful, it's powerful. Because we all know that the sun is good. Now, as black people, we don't, generally speaking, I don't know if any of you here use sunscreen. Maybe some of our lighter, fair-skinned friends here use sunscreen. But it's okay to use sunscreen, but you have to use it correctly. Because the sun has so many benefits. During COVID, which I had COVID 4 different times, working in the hospital. And, the people who stayed out in the sun, or hospitals where people were placed in the sun, yes, they ended up, they fared well with COVID than those people who did not get out in the sun, or at least get exposed to sunlight. And we will discuss the reasons why. So here are some sun facts, okay? The sun accounts for 99.86% of the mass of our solar system. About 1 million Earths could fit inside the sun. So the sun is huge, and our planet is very, very tiny. The surface temperature is about 10,000 Fahrenheit, the sun. And the core temperature of the sun is about 27 million degrees Fahrenheit. Our Earth is just the right distance from the sun to sustain life. Even though you may think that the sun is too hot down here in Alabama, and I do know how hot it could get. I did some of my schooling in South Carolina, some years of college, so I do know out to get very hot air. And I'm not a fan of the heat to begin with. So, but we do need the sun appropriately. Okay? But just so you know that God made it just right. I mean, this is not by accident, folks. Those people who believe that, I don't know how they could believe such a thing. All right. Now, sunlight. Sunlight is essential for all life. Okay. Solar power gives energy for plants to grow. In fact, it is the originator of nearly all the naturally occurring energy on the earth. Sunlight. Okay, the solar system. Like plants, humans need sunlight for optimal health. Okay, and now it says here, sunlight is essential for our bodies to produce vitamin D. How many of you know that? Most people know that sunlight is essential to make vitamin D. Okay, vitamin D is actually a hormone. It is important for bone health as an antioxidant and for proper immune function. In fact, we used to call vitamin D the wonder vitamin. It is so powerful that it affects pretty much many bodily functions. And so we need to be able to make vitamin D. And the best way to make vitamin D is via the sunlight. Unfortunately, we don't spend enough time in the sun to make, especially as darker skinned people, because we have more melanin. So the more melanin you have, which is why we are darker in complexion, this was an adaptation living in Africa, right? When we live, we come from Africa, all black people for the most part pretty much come from Africa. And so because it's a harder climate compared to the northern hemispheres, so we tend to, our bodies adapted to become darker and darker and darker, so that we are protected from the hazards of the sun, because there are hazards as well. Okay? So for us, we need to spend about 2 hours in the sun to be able to have enough UVB rays to make vitamin D. Okay? And I don't know any of us that spend that much time in the sun. Actually, they did a study several years ago on construction workers who spent time in the sun because they work outside, construction workers. They did a study on them to find out their vitamin D level. And believe it or not, the majority of them were low in vitamin D. Yes. Okay? So, sunlight and vitamin D. Low vitamin D levels have been associated with an increased risk in respiratory disease, viral illnesses, heart disease, and diabetes. Yes. So I recommend again about 1.5 to 2 hours if you're of darker complexion. If you're of lighter complexion, 20 minutes is more than is enough. 20 minutes without sunscreen. If you want to spend longer in the sun, then you need to use sunscreen. If you're of lighter or fairer complexion, you need to use some sunscreen if you want to spend more than 20 minutes in the sun. You use sunscreen, SPF. Some people always ask me, what SPF should I get? And I would say 50 is about the best out there, but 30 to 50 is a good range. Okay? But just know that you don't absorb vitamin D rays when you apply sunscreen. Okay? And so your vitamin D level, and if you haven't had that checked yet, ask your doctor to check it for you. Vitamin D level, it's a simple blood test. We generally recommend twice a year, and the normal level is between 30 and 100, but 40 to 100 is better. In fact, 50 to 100 is better still. Okay? And most people are low, like I just said, in the U.S., and so we need to take supplementation. Because we don't spend that much time in the sun, and we don't spend time in the sun at the right time, because there is a certain time of the day when when the UVB rays are at their best, at their highest, and it is usually between the noonday time. Okay, so usually between 11 and 2 around that time, that's when the UVB rays are really intense from the sun. Okay, and if you're exposed for too long, longer than you need, then it could actually cause some destruction and some damage and potential skin cancer. Now, black people, of course, in Africa, nobody uses sunscreen, and we don't really get skin cancer. I don't really use sunscreen. My wife is a slightly lighter complexion, but so she uses it for herself, but I don't know how to use it. Most people are low, and it is fat soluble. Vitamin D is fat soluble. So like, I lived in New York and in Minnesota for many years, over 30 years altogether. And so those colder climates and the northern latitudes, they are, they have longer winters, as you know. And so the sun doesn't, the rays of the sun is blocked many times. And so it's not as easy to make vitamin D in the winter time. But then because it is fat soluble, if you make enough during the summertime or during the warmer months, then it is stored. It stores for months, actually. And so it's stored during the winter time, okay? But I still tell people the safest bet is to take a supplement, okay? About average of 1,000 IUs, international units, IUs a day is good. Some people, if they are low, we tell them to take more. Sometimes we give a prescription with them, depending on how low they are. Okay, and most people are never over 100. Very rarely do we see that. So we don't really get too involved with being too high. Okay, but that's about your average, 1,000 to 2,000 a day, or every other day is perfectly fine. And so one of the things I'd like to tell people is the best way, this is an easy giveaway, the best way to know that the UVB rays are out and you're making vitamin D is to watch your shadow. When you stand out in the sun, if your shadow is longer than you are not making vitamin D. If your shadow is shorter than you are making vitamin D. Yes. So that's an easy way to remember it. Okay? And then sunlight and cardiovascular disease. So now we're talking about a number of different diseases and how sunlight affects them. And there are so many other diseases, but just the main ones. Sunlight helps lower cholesterol and triglycerides in the blood. It raises nitric oxide, which is a vasodilator in the blood. So if you of course, like I was having chest pains, I was having a heart attack, I got some, they gave me some nitroglycerin, right? Some people have to walk around with it in their purses or in their briefcase because they have angina. And when you have some heart chest pain, you just pop one and it dissolves and it dilates the blood vessels. But the sunlight actually raises your nitric oxide, So if you spend more time in the sun, then you'll get the benefit. Vitamin D helps with the intestinal absorption of calcium and phosphorus, both of which help to lower blood pressure. And if you have osteoporosis, which many women tend to get, that's also a great benefit. By the way, if you have osteoporosis or you have osteopenia, you need to stop drinking any kind of dairy product, or using any dairy product. Research at Harvard shows that low vitamin D can double your risk for heart attacks. That's how important vitamin D is. Double your risk if it's low. Sunlight and diabetes. Okay? Sunlight helps to stabilize blood sugar. A That is why I try to get my exercise as much outside as possible. If for some reason I can't go outside, I stand by the window where the sun is shining at me, and I stand there and I get some sun. It raises blood sugar in hypoglycemics, and it lowers blood sugar in diabetics. So it does what is needed, right? Vitamin D has a protective effect against type 1 diabetes. Has a protective effect against type 1 diabetes. Now, all of these are not like absolutes, right? I mean, we never talk about 100% in medicine. Like this thing works 100% of the time. No, because nothing does that. Okay. It says here, research also shows that sunlight can help lower the risk for type 2 diabetes. Okay, the risk factors such as obesity and elevated lipids. Do you have this slide? Yeah. No, you don't have that slide. Sorry. Okay, so you could lower the risk for type 2 diabetes just by being out in the sun. And obviously Alabama doesn't have any, we don't have any trouble with having sun here, you know. So, all right. Okay, so sunlight and obesity. Okay, several studies show that sunlight helps with weight management. Okay, a 2014 study done on women with obesity. The study group received at least 45 minutes of sunlight between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. and the control group did not receive that amount of sunlight. Those in the study group began to lose weight after a couple of weeks, while the control group did not. Of course, it makes sense because the sun helps to again melt, if you will, to use a loose word there, the fat. Okay, and so you're able to get rid of the fat, and so the benefits are there, and that's why your cholesterol and your lipid profile also improves. Okay, sunlight and the mind. Okay, sunlight plays an important role in several brain chemicals. Moderate sunlight exposure increases the production of serotonin, the feel-good chemical in your brain. Some of you may be familiar with what we call the serotonin, norepinephrine, or receptor inhibitors. In other words, we give medications like Cymbalta, Prozac, many of these antidepressants. Many of them work by inhibiting the reuptake of serotonin, because serotonin is the feel-good hormone, a feel-good chemical. So if you have it there, flowing around, then you tend to be less depressed, and you tend to be more happy and feeling good. So the sun by itself will do that. Sunlight in the morning is important for melatonin spike at bedtime that helps us sleep. Okay? Nighttime melatonin, so this is how our circadian rhythm and our mood is affected. Because when you wake up in the morning, this is something I do pretty much every morning, the earlier you do it, the better you are. As the sun is rising, you want to look towards the sun, not look at the sun, but look towards the sun. Okay, and that the blue light in the sun, the blue light, actually begins to wake you up and gets your body ready for the day, and it sets your circadian rhythm so that by the time it's time to go to bed, yes, and you turn off the lights and put away the screens. Actually, we recommend at least an hour to 2 hours of no screens, because the screens give you blue light. I know I'm speaking to the choir. the sun, the screens give blue light. And when you expose yourself to blue light at night, you have more difficulty sleeping. Because melatonin is not secreted when you have blue light. Because it sees blue light as daytime, which is why it is best to get your blue light first thing in the morning. It sets your circadian rhythm so that as the day goes on, as it gets later into the day, you begin to back away from the blue light, okay? And your circadian rhythm is ready to secrete melatonin in a dark space. That's why we recommend a dark room, especially people who have trouble sleeping at night. Okay? So when we do it correctly, it works perfectly. But that's very hard to do for most of us. Okay? Sunlight and germs. Okay, so sunlight is antibacterial, antifungal, and antiviral. One of the reasons again why sunlight works very effectively if you have any kind of infection is because it helps to kill the infection. Okay? One of the reasons why people I remember when I had COVID, each time I had COVID, the first time I was very, very sick. I was out of work for 6 weeks. But thankfully, I wasn't in the hospital. I just took care of myself. But I used my natural remedies. Contrast showers, contrast baths, sunlight, concoctions. I did everything. But I was out in the sun every day. Even though I was tired, I was weak, I was going for my walks in the sun, you know. And when you put people in the sun, in fact, many of you know that back many years back, you know, people would see people put in the sun, their tuberculosis, their various conditions will actually resolve. Oh man, that's another fee. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No. Basically, I make a green smoothie. I think you know about. I think I mentioned that. I tell people that you know. But I make a green smoothie, which I put all kinds of greens in there and turmeric. Some people say turmeric. I put ginger. I put garlic in my smoothie, which my wife thinks is crazy. But I put everything green. I was telling my brother Travis, I put the grapefruit, the peel, the skin. I put it in there. The lemon or lime skin, put it in there. Melon, the rind and the skin, I put it in there. I put everything in there. Okay, and I just all kinds of stuff in my smoothie. And but then in my concoction, which I boil, those things are also in there. The exact same things are in there. But I also use like the lemongrass, holy basil, you know, what you call it again, moringa, you know, oregano, lavender, what do you call the other one? You know, I mean, I put all kinds of stuff in there. It's just, I put, you know, so by the time, nobody else in my house drinks it but me. My kids have to be really sick for them to even drink it. But that's how I was able, by God's grace, to overcome COVID and many other illnesses. All right, and then so the sun takes care of the germs. Okay, if you know, some of you may have the ability to dry your clothes out in the sun as opposed to using the dryer. If you're able to do that, then it's better for you because the sun has sanitizing effects. And then open your windows, friends. People have this thing. Now, I think in the South you're better than people in the North and in colder states. But open your windows. Pull the blinds up to the side and open your windows. Open it. Let the fresh air come inside. If it's too cold, okay, just crack it a little bit. And then the sun would still be able to penetrate to some degree. But open your windows and your blinds to get the sun in. Okay? And and then skin cancer and sunlight, okay? So, like I just shared with you, in high doses, it is dangerous, especially if you're of a fairer complexion. You don't want to burn yourself, okay? Because when you burn, then, you set up yourself for wrinkles and for skin cancer, okay? And so you want to be very, very careful with that. And I think we already talked much about this. Okay. And so how much sunlight? Again, we talked about that. So the best time is between, the best time to get sunlight is between when you're waking up in the morning, between 6 and 9 to 10 o'clock, okay, as the sun is coming out, okay? But between the hours of 11 and 2, that's when the rays are really more powerful. The UVB rays, the UVA rays, which are more damaging to the skin. And so you want to avoid it at that time, okay, as much as possible. And of course, the body can make adequate vitamin D from a quarter of the sunlight usually required to cause a sunburn. So you don't need, if you stay too long in the sun, especially if you have a lighter complexion, you may easily get sunburned. But you only need a small amount of sunlight to make adequate vitamin D, depending on your skin tone. So be aware of your tolerance to the sun. And if you have had skin cancer before, in the past, or whatever the skin cancer is, do not stay out of the sun. Unlike what your dermatologist tells you, okay, if you have had skin cancer, you still need the sun. In fact, people who have had skin cancer, when they avoid the sun, they are more prone to get more skin cancer. Okay? The sun has healing properties. So you want to be able to get the sun, but at the appropriate amount and at the right times. So you get it between 6 and 9 in the morning, okay? And if you have a fairer complexion, again, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, that should be more than enough. And if you have to stay out still, use sunscreen, and then wear a hat, wear long sleeves, or whatever the case may be. Protect yourself in that case, but don't avoid the sun, please. All right. So now here are some new findings about sunlight. This is one of the things I wanted to share with you. It's not just the vitamin D, okay? There are other positive effects, like near-infrared light. How many of you have heard of near-infrared light? Okay, a few of you have. Near-infrared light, we're just getting into this science now, just finding out these things. God is so wonderful. God is so good. Okay, but now scientists are beginning to realize, actually in the last, it's becoming more and more of a thing now since COVID. Now we're beginning, scientists are realizing now, was it really the vitamin D that was really helping people? Because you remember during COVID, everybody was taking vitamin D and everybody was getting checked for vitamin D. Because we found out that people who were low in vitamin D did worse with COVID. Okay? So what they're saying now is the vitamin D was actually a marker, okay, but it was not the thing. Near-infrared rays is the thing we're beginning to find out. Near-infrared rays is also coming from the sun. It is more, it is in the invisible spectrum of the sun. So you can't see it with the naked eyes. Okay, but it is so powerful that it penetrates not only your clothing, it penetrates through your tissues, all the way down to the bones and into the deep, deep, deep cells and tissues. That's how powerful it is. More powerful than vitamin D, because UVB rays that make vitamin D, they only penetrate to the skin level. So if you cover with clothing or you wear sunscreen, you will not be making vitamin D. But not with near infrared. You have to, I think they said you have to wear about 6 layers of clothing or more to be able to even begin to block near-infrared rays. And the benefits are so much, uh, 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 um, beneficial. It says here, after getting some direct sun, so you've been in the sun for about 15, 20 minutes if you're fair complexion, or maybe an hour and a half or so if you're darker complexion. Then you put on your sunscreen, you sit underneath a tree or something outside, and you listen to your music, do what you have to do. So now you're getting additional near-infrared rays. And the benefits are just astounding. So sunlight and oxidative stress. Research has shown us that near-infrared radiation, which is just beyond the visible spectrum, is beneficial. So if you look towards where it says here near-infrared, that's the visible light right there, and then further down is near-infrared. And they also have these artificial near-infrared lights which you could buy in the store, but I always like the natural stuff better. Okay. And then people do, sunbathing, forest bathing, of course, there are people who pay a lot of money, go to Japan to do forest bathing. You don't have to do that. You could just forest bathe right here in your backyard, right? You have the trees, you have the sun, and so now the way that near-infrared rays work, okay, as they penetrate your skin, they go all the way down to the mitochondrial level. The mitochondria is the workhouse. And I'm going to show you some slides about that in a few minutes here. It's the workhouse of your cells, okay? And the way they work, it works most efficiently when you have near-infrared rays that are affecting them. And I'll tell you how that happens here in a second, okay? And so, energy production produces a byproduct, oxidative stress. How many of you have heard of oxidative stress? Oxidative stress or reactive oxygen species. These are some of the things that people take antioxidants for. And whole plant-based foods are loaded with antioxidants. But some people go to the store and buy all these supplements. Get it the best way. Get it from the whole food. I'm not a big fan of supplements. And you could tell they don't give me any money. So, but it leads to. And by the way, I'm a missionary doctor, so it's not about money. It's about just serving the Lord. So now, so oxidative stress leads to inflammation, severe COVID-19, cancer, diabetes, hyperlipidemia, cardiovascular disease, neurological disease like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, poor mental health, multiple myeloma, you name it. When you have oxidative stress, okay, it will happen. You will have problems because it has to do something. It has to get somewhere. So, but melatonin would scavenge the oxygen and nitrogen. Oh yeah, the melatonin. Oh, you don't see it. Will scavenge reactive oxygen species and nitrogen species and increase oxidant defenses. So it prevents tissue damage and blocks transcriptional factors of pro-inflammatory cytokines. All that is a lot of science, but the pro-inflammatory cytokines is what was killing people during COVID. Their lungs were just, the virus just caused havoc in their lungs. And the virus produced or caused the production of a lot of pro-inflammatory cytokines all over the body, and the body cannot maintain and sustain with all that stress. So what happens is, with sunlight, okay, what happens is, the near-infrared rays get to the mitochondrial level, which is down deep in the cells, cell has one. It's the workhouse of the cell. And as the mitochondria works in the cell to produce, how many of you have heard of ATP? That's how you make energy. It's done in the mitochondria. It's a whole scientific process done in the mitochondria. When you make ATP, you are also creating as a byproduct reactive oxygen species and nitrogen species, which are the things that are causing damage in the body. So you need a coolant. You need a what? A coolant. How many of you drive? Well, when you drive, is there a way that does your car generate heat? How do you get rid of the heat? Huh? What do you have to put in the? You have to put a coolant. It keeps the engine cool. Otherwise, you don't have a car, right? So the near-infrared rays, they penetrate to the mitochondrial level, which is basic, which is all the way down to the cells, and they react with the mitochondria to produce melatonin. And the melatonin becomes the coolant to cool down the byproduct heat that is generated as the energy is produced in your cells. So when you have this daytime melatonin, this is now in the daytime, so you have melatonin that's produced in the pineal gland at night, that just stays there for you to sleep at night, but all day long, the mitochondria is also producing melatonin when exposed to near-infrared rays. And that is what destroys the oxygen-reactive species that is causing damage in your body. So you don't need to go spend money buying antioxidants in the store. Just eat right and get some sunshine. Again, new start, remember? And so this is what you see here, okay? You get it from the sun at night, and it is produced all day long. I mean, during the day, and then at nighttime, it's from the pineal gland to help you sleep. So when this thing works right, your body is so happy. It is so happy, and you are able to avoid many of the problems that people are having now. And of course, this was several years ago, centuries ago. And some of you remember I talked about the Battle Creek Sanitarium yesterday, and they used to put people out in the sun. Some of you may have even read about it, putting people out in the sun over 100 years ago. And people were getting better and going home. But now you go to the hospital, the blinds are closed, and the windows that they use, they use low-energy windows, and I'm going to tell you about that shortly. The windows that we use now in our cars, in the hospitals, in our workplaces, they are actually a disaster. Actually a disaster. In fact, I have a friend in California. His wife works for Newstart, and he works in the hospital in town. And during COVID, he used to drag the patients by the window, okay, and try to open the windows if they could be opened. And the nurses would get mad with him, but those patients went home. So now we have what you call e-glass windows versus older windows. I don't know which kind of windows you guys have here in the church. But the windows which are being made right now, the government is requiring this. This is a government requirement. So make what you call e-glass windows, low-energy windows. In other words, windows that, because according to the government, they have a point, but then the consequences are actually even worse. They want to save energy, which is good, right? So now your cars, your workplace, the newer homes, newer buildings, the glass is made so that it doesn't absorb energy that is wasted. So near-infrared rays is considered a wasted source of energy. So they try to block it out. So when you're driving in your car, your windows are up, especially if you have a newer car, or you're in a building with all these windows, that don't really allow the rays to penetrate, then you don't get the benefit. And most people spend more time indoors than outdoors, right? People don't spend our time outdoors anymore like in the olden days, you know. So what you see here, the house, you know, you see there on the side, that is just, if you just walk in this room right now, that's what it looks like. But then there's a special lens that you could buy, a special type of lens you could buy, and you could put it over your phone, over your phone lens. And then if you come back into this room, okay, and the windows are open, and you look in this room, you would see the room red. Because the near-infrared rays are now, because there are a couple of windows which are open there, okay, and those two windows open, as you can see the arrows there, those windows that are open, they're allowing the rays to come into the house, and so now you're able to see the infrared rays with your lens, with your special lens. You can't see it with your naked eye. So that house is getting all kinds of sunlight, and the near-infrared rays is able to be in there, and whoever lives in that home, they're really enjoying the benefits of near-infrared. That's why I say open your windows. And now you could see that even with plants, if you live in a green space, like here you have a lot of trees and greenery, you are doing better than the people who live in New York City. Unless maybe they go to Central Park or something, somewhere where it's green. Because the green absorbs the near-infrared rays. So that even if you don't have a chance to go out during the day as you would like, if you go out at night after the sun has set, the rays which have been absorbed by the green, by the trees, by the plants, by the grass, as you walk outside at night, they are bouncing off your body and being absorbed all the way down to the mitochondrial level from the green. That's why I tell people, if you live in cities, you don't get the benefit. But try to go to a park or somewhere where there are trees so you could get the benefit. That's why they plant trees all over the place, in cities even now, because they're beginning to realize the benefits. And so when you use the special lens, you see that. That's the same bush, but that's what you see with the special lens. You see how red it is? They're absorbing all those rays. And when you go outside, you get the benefit. So I tell people, open your windows, okay? Go outside, pull your blinds, relax by the sun, and let me tell you something. The benefits are tremendous. The benefits are tremendous. The Bible tells us in Malachi chapter 4, verse 2, but to you who fear my name, the Son of Righteousness will arise with healing in his wings, and he will go forth and skip about like calves from the stall. Now Christ is the Son of Righteousness, and he wants to arise in our hearts. Some people worship the sun up there. We don't worship the sun. But the Christ who made the sun has packed in that sun so many benefits that if we could have him in our hearts and enjoy the benefits that he has blessed us with, we will be the healthier for it. He will keep all these diseases from us. We will be the healthier for it, and we would share the good news with others. I'm going to close with this wisdom pearls that we read from, the first one is from the Health Reformer. She says, the feeble one should press out into the sunshine as earnestly and naturally as do the shaded plants and vines. This woman was ahead of her time. She had no idea about near-infrared rays and all these rays. She had no idea. All these big names. But God revealed to her that there are benefits. She says the pale and sickly grain blade that has struggled up out of the cold of early spring, puts out the natural and healthy deep green after enjoying for a few days the health and life-giving rays of the sun. Go out into the light and warmth of the glorious sun, you pale and sickly ones, and share with vegetation its life-giving, health-dealing power. She was ahead of her time. We are just now beginning to hear about near-infrared rays. And COVID was a big factor, reason for that. And then the next one in testimony, she says, exercise and a free and abundant use of the air and sunlight would give life and strength to the initiated. I mean, our church has been blessed with so much, and we don't use it. And she wrote a letter here to, you don't see the rest of it, but she wrote a letter to her secretary in 1888. And here's what she says. Make it a habit not to sit up after 9 o'clock. Every light should be extinguished. This turning of night into day is a wretched, health-destroying habit. And we're all guilty. I'm guilty. I mean, I try to be done with by 9 o'clock, but usually it doesn't happen. Especially when I work outside of Newstead, before I went to Newstead, But we should make it a habit. It's not easy, but we should. We should try to turn up the light. We said it's a wretched habit, which is destroying our lives. So I pray that all of this information here has been a blessing. I've enjoyed the time with you all. And this afternoon, after brunch, we will have time for Q&A. So whatever questions you have, by the empowering grace of God, we will be able to answer them and discuss. God bless you. Let us have prayer. Father in heaven, we thank you so much for this time. Thank you for what you've shared with us, Lord. This is all your word. This comes from your word and from the writings of your prophet. And it is amazing how you care for us so much. But it is amazing still how we do not even utilize what you have blessed us with. Even angels are amazed at how we throw away the information we have and allow others to even know of them more than we do, when we should be the ones who are teaching others about this. But I pray, dear God, that this weekend will be the beginning of a change in us, that you will do a mighty work in each of our hearts and lives, that we will prosper and be in good health, even as our soul prospers. That we will share the good news, that Skyland Church will be a place where people could come and find healing, health of body, health of mind, health of soul. And Lord, as we go now to have some food and interact with one another, pray that you bless the fruit of our bodies. And we thank you for the provision. In Jesus' name.